Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to start off with Nikki Haley. You wrote a great article on her this week. Why is she still in this race? What's the point?
Well, it's interesting to me. I honestly thought before New Hampshire that she really ought to get out of the race, that she's like all the others who really made a decision. They supported Trump. They all raised their hands, with the exception of Chris Christie, they all raised their hands and said they would vote for Trump. Nikki Haley said, as did some of the others, that she would pardon Trump if she were president. She was continuously pulling punches. And that told me that she wasn't really doing the job. And she didn't then, and she hasn't now really ever focused on the fact that, Donald Trump is somebody with 91 felony charges. But I have to say, then New Hampshire happened. And I began to see that, one, Trump was obviously deeply aggrieved by Nikki Haley staying in the race. And I think she's still been pulling punches, but she's been a little bit more aggressive now, more aggressively talking about his mental fitness, and beginning to, I think, sort of take the tack that if she actually really is interested in winning this race and staying in, she needs to be a more aggressive rival.
Do you think that the GOP candidates would have fared better against Trump if they attacked him more aggressively, especially earlier on? I feel like we saw Haley just do it after New Hampshire, and maybe DeSantis as well towards the end of his campaign. Would they have been better off doing it early on, or would it have hurt too much of their base?
Yeah, I mean, the political calculation has been that that if they take it to Trump, they're putting themselves in danger with the base, the very highly supportive base for Trump. We obviously saw what happened with Chris Christie. He couldn't sustain it, even though he was really the critical voice in the GOP campaign. So you could argue that the reluctance to be more aggressive has sustained Nikki Haley to this point. On the other hand, in my view, this is a really serious campaign. Not between two political opponents who are in the traditional horse race to win the White House. This is between somebody who's actually supportive of democracy and somebody who's interested in tossing it away and ending rule of law.
I want to touch on this clip that you put out this week regarding CNN's Abby Phillips, who made a comment, which many in the media have made, saying nobody wants Biden or Trump. And you kind of argued a bit against that point.
Yeah, well, right. She said nobody wants Biden, nobody wants Trump. All you have to do is take a look at New Hampshire as our example. I mean, the fact is, people wanted Biden. That's why they voted for Nikki Haley, in my view. People wanted Biden. That's why they got into the Republican primary to try to push back. With Trump, I mean, let's be clear, the depth of enthusiasm of his base, and, in my view, it's a cult that cannot be moved one way or another based on facts. They're all in. And, the percentages, again, I'm back to exit polls, but the percentages of people who said that, he's going to fight for them, it was somewhere around 86% or 90% of those who were supportive of him. Those who are for him are for him all the way. I mean, that's clear. Now, I do think that what Abby Phillips was trying to say is that, they're both of a certain age. There are questions about mental fitness. Those are legitimate questions, but to not grasp, I think, the depth of enthusiasm that does exist for both of them in their own ways was a mistake.
And to piggyback off of that question, a lot of polls, not that I'm one to trust polls too much, show Trump leading Biden if that, in fact, were to be the 2024 presidential race. What does Biden have to do to defeat his enthusiastic base?
My view on that is that there's not really much of a chance to be able to tap into the base that's Trump's. That's pretty obvious. But I think there's two things. One, I think there's a significant independent population that can be pulled into the Biden camp if they're on the fence now. I think there are some so-called soft Republicans It's hard to believe there are any left, but that there are some soft Republicans who might be capable of being pulled into, the Democratic base. And I mean, capital D and small d Democratic base for Biden. And I think, more than anything else, it is about turnout. It's always true. It's about turnout, but it's particularly true now.